Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kelly's Bead Boutique. So I'm finally able to film from my home studio. It might sound a little echoey for a bit because I still have to put some things on the wall to try to absorb some of the sound, but for now this is going to have to do. It's going to allow me a whole lot more freedom because I won't have to work around the store hours or traffic or people building next to us, all that kind of stuff. And I have my trusty sidekick down here, Henley, my crazy Labradoodle, who will maybe pop into the odd video. So I'm just going to make a simple pair of earrings today to start off with. So if you want to see what I'm making, come and join me. Okay, so to get started, we're going to be using some 24 gauge craft wire. I have a couple head pins with balls on the end. I have these new rings that I just got into the store. They're just a nice thin little ring, perfect for wrapping around. I have these gorgeous pointed oval Czech glass beads, and what I love about these is they have one color on this front. This is sort of a beautiful sort of opal-y lavender, and then on the side it has this other sort of antiqued color. So I'll have these in 3 different colors, and I just love them. I think they're just a beautiful bead. And then I have some coordinating beads, some 4mm faceted fire polish, and I have a pair of ear wires. And I also have my 4 basic tools. Now you're probably going to say, well, those tools look a little different. Well, yeah, because these are my tools that I have at home instead of the ones that I have at the store. And I do have to admit, they're much better quality. When I first started making jewelry, I bought just super inexpensive tools, probably from Michael's or somewhere like that. And they just didn't hold up. And because I did have a large jewelry business, I needed tools that held up. So these are my original tools that I've had for 17 years now, and they are as good as the day that I bought them. So I like to use the Softflex cutters. Now I can't carry these any longer because they're just way too expensive when you add in the exchange. So I do recommend that if you're looking for the best pair of cutters, in my opinion, that you can find, these Softflex 300 SFC, and I think you can buy them directly from Softflex. They just, if you bought them from me, it would be ridiculously expensive. So if you're looking for a good pair, these are still as sharp as the day that I bought them. And these ones were actually, I can tell by the name on the side, these were my production workers used them, and so they don't really take care of tools like I did, and these are still super sharp. So super great cutters. I also like German quality tools, and again, I just can't sell them in the store because of the exchange rate, and they're super expensive. But I do like these long nose because long round nose, I should say, because you have so many options. So that's what I use. And I have a coordinating pair of bent chain nose, and these are both made in Germany. And then years ago, I did manage to find these at a local wholesaler. I don't particularly like these little springs that come in them, especially in my right hand. I tend to use my tools just like a hairdresser does, in that I use this finger to open and close. So I found having the spring just didn't allow me the tension that I like. So I popped them out of here. Now these are really old. I cringed to think that I one day won't have them if they fall apart, because what I like about this pair is that they came to a really pointy end, and that's really hard to find. So I can't even tell you where to buy this one because I don't know anymore. I've never seen it again and wish that I could. So again, you know, if you buy expensive tools, they will last you a lifetime. And not that you have to spend a ton of money, but you know, I just think you get what you pay for with all tools. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I did was I cut a length of wire, and I cut it about the length of the side profile of my mat. That's my technical measuring tool today. Okay, so now I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to place it over top of my ring, and I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch gap like that. And that's just to give you something to hold on to. And we're going to be cutting that off on the end. So now I'm going to wrap around 3 times. So you can see that I'm actually giving it a little bit of tension and wrapping around nice and neat so that the wraps are right next to each other. I'm not pulling so hard though that I'm going to misshape this little ring. You have to be careful that you're not pulling too tight on them because you can misshape those. So I'm just making sure that my wraps are nice and neat. And you can see I'm not using any tools. I find it's best to just kind of poke through and pull with my fingers, and then I can straighten that out. So now I'm going to pull my wire up to the top, and then I'm going to put on one of my 4mm fire polish. And I'm going to just bring that over the top like that. And now I just sort of bring it down. You don't worry so much about that bead. It'll all make sense after, but I've got it sort of up on an angle. So I'm just going to push through with my finger, and I'm actually holding on to the bead so that it doesn't go all over the place. And now I'm just going to wrap around twice. So just wrap around nice and neat, just 2 times. And again, I just push through with my finger and pull with the other ones, and that kind of straightens that out. So come straight back up to the top, add another bead. Now you do have to be careful with when you're working with Czech glass, because it is glass. So you want to make sure that you're not pulling the wire so tight that you crack your bead. Okay, so I bring that wire through, wrap around once, bring it through again, and then twice, and straighten that wire out, and then I go right back up to the top. Now I'm going to put my last bead on that side. And I just kind of, I find it easier to work with this when I'm actually holding on to the whole thing so it doesn't go all over the place. So once, and then twice. And I'm going to bring it to the inside, and then I'm going to use the flush side of my cutters, and I'm just going to trim that off. And now you will see in there, I don't know if you'll actually be able to see, but there's a little tiny burr. So I'm just going to take the tip of my pliers, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to just soften that down. I don't want to push too hard. I don't want to bend this whole thing. So you just want to be a little bit careful with that. And now what you're going to do is take this piece that you had on the end, and we'll just get that out of the way now. And I just sort of pull it back because I only want to see 3 wraps there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come on the inside. I'm going to give that a little trim, and then I'm going to take the end of my pliers and just softly and gently push that down. I don't want to push too hard. So this is what we've ended up with. We started off with 3 and we've ended with 2, and we've just got our beads on the top there. So, and if you have to sort of move them around, they're very easy to push around. Okay, so now I do find it easier to put this center one on next. I have found that if you wrap over top of this after, it's much easier to kind of, you could break your glass, or you could just kind of wreck those wraps. So I find it easier to put this on now. So I'm just going to put the head pin on, and I'm going to take my pliers and put them right at the very end there and bend away. We're just going to do a simple wrapped loop. So take my round nose pliers, put them over top of the head pin, and then I'm going to go up and over and down, rotate my pliers, and then bring that straight to the back, and I'm just creating a nice little wrap loop. So now I want to make sure that I'm putting this on just down here. I want to try and sort of separate that a little bit before I put it through, because I don't want to scratch up this little ring at all. And then now I'm going to wrap that up. So again, because this is glass, you want to make sure that you're not getting too close to it. So, and these are very heavy jump rings, so I'm just going to wrap around twice. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to just give this a little trim. And now I'm going to very carefully take the end of my pliers on the end of that wire and just kind of soften that little burr down by pushing it down a bit. Again, don't want to break this glass at all. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the next side. So what you have to make sure that you've got is your 3 wraps on the top and your 2 wraps on the bottom. So it's really easy to get those kind of turned around. So you want to make sure that this is up here, and I'm going to be starting right across from it. So again, I'm just going to put that sort of 1/2 inch of wire there, and I'm going to push that through, and now I'm going to wrap 3 times. And always making sure that those wraps are not stacked on top of each other. They're just nicely next to each other. So you've got a nice, neat sort of thing to start off with. All right, so now I'm going to put my bead on there. These are pretty simple earring, but they look really, really pretty on. Okay, and I'm going to lay that across the top, and then I'm going to push that wire through and then wrap twice. And I don't know why I wrapped with 3 on one end and then 2 in the middle. I think it just 3 just kind of, it seems to secure it really nicely for me. And then I only wanted to have 2 down here because when I did it, when I work on these, I do many, many, many prototypes trying to get them to work nicely. And I just found that when there was 3 wraps in the middle, it was just too many and it left a bit of a gap there. So That's kind of why I do things the way I do them. But when you're making your own, you can do as many wraps as you like. So there we go. We've got 2 there. And then we're going to put our last one on. And I just kind of don't worry about this. I just let it free float there. It will get in the way a little bit, but don't worry about it. So we're going to go once, twice. Bring that to the inside. I'm going to take my cutters and just give that a little snip. And then I just want to sort of tuck that burr down a little bit. Okay, so now you'll see that there is a bit of a gap. So what I do is I just take my 2 end beads here and I push them together, because this isn't wrapped so tightly that it won't move around. So, but that just kind of helps push those together so that you don't have a big gap there. Okay, so now we have this little end one that we have to deal with. So I'm just going to pull that back so that I'm only seeing 3 wraps there. And I'm going to come on the inside and give that a little snip. I just want to sort of isolate it to make it easy to trim. And if you leave the smallest amount of a burr that you can, then there really isn't very much to tuck down here. So and again, I'm just barely doing that, just really gentle. So now I'm going to put on the ear wire. So I'm just going to open that up, kind of like a jump ring. You want to bend it this way, not that way. I'm going to pop that on there. And then now I'm going to take the end and make sure that it's all nicely in there. So sometimes you might find that this part here, your little neck, has a bit of a tilt. So you can just take your pliers and just gently bend it up a little bit, and that will help make the earring sit nicer. So I'm going to come back with all the different colors I have and show you how these turned out. So there you go. There's our 3 completed pairs. I'm loving all 3 colors. I love the beautiful opaly purple, of course my favorite sort of seafoam green, and this gorgeous sort of rose gold color, fabulous color. So as always, these will be available in kit form on my website. So if you decide that you want to buy your own pair of earrings, you can just go into the description box below the video and it'll take you directly to a link to my website. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give me a like, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from everybody. And please make sure to subscribe my channel, as it really does help it out. And don't forget to ring the bell icon, because that will tell you when I have a new video that is up live. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.